Master, don't move. A cold blade pressed against my throat. I tilted my head back to look at the man beside me. Are you plotting to kill your own master? Disciple. Master. I only wish to leave with my junior sister. Kieran Thorne's forehead was etched with faint, unmistakable dark markings. I smiled faintly. I will naturally grant you this freedom. With that, I snatched the dagger from his grip and plunged it into my own chest. Later, I heard whispers that the Grandmaster Sentinel and the Archon of the Shadow Dominion searched the Six Planes for a resurrection method solely to bring back the Master who had sacrificed herself. I transmigrated. I became Veronica Ronnie Hayes, the villainous master in a major male lead fantasy novel centered on cultivation and ascension. Kieran was the protagonist of that book, and I, his master, was the first significant obstacle he encountered on his path to power. The original Veronica Hayes was superficially graceful and high-minded. Though only a few centuries old, she had already reached peak high arcane rank, viewed by outsiders as a paragon of youthful achievement. In reality, she was petty and consumed by jealousy. She even sabotaged her own favorite disciple simply because his cultivation progressed too quickly. Kieran had tried to resist and expose her then, but Veronica was the third elder of the Silver Covenant and the sect leader's only junior sister. Her reputation within the order was immaculate. Thus, every one of her malicious acts was interpreted by others as being perfectly justifiable. Honestly, was the Silver Covenant order run by children? Finally, after consistently courting disaster, specifically by capturing and imprisoning the male lead's designated love interest, her second disciple, Vance, Veronica was brutally stabbed to death by Kieran. If I hadn't transmigrated into Veronica Hayes, I would have cheered. For the past century since I arrived, I had dedicated myself to mentoring Kieran with exceptional care and guidance. Surely I wouldn't suffer the tragic fate described in the original novel. Yet the memory of that bloody scene always sent a cold shiver down my spine. Master, what's wrong? Julian Sawyer's voice sounded beside me. I snapped back to reality. Nothing. Let's find your senior brother and sister first. Where had those two run off to now? Kieran was already high arcane rank and had reached a weave rank. They shouldn't be in any real danger. I glanced at Julian, my youngest disciple. In barely 100 years, he too had entered the high arcane rank. Then I looked at myself, perpetually stuck at peak high arcane, unable to break through. If this continued, who would be able to tell the difference between the parent and the child? Hell, who was the disciple and who was the master? Finally, I located the two main characters. When I arrived, they were battling a high arcane-ranked beast. Seeing it about to be swatted away, I drew my sword and slashed toward the creature, quickly subduing it. I glared down at the massive graveling beast. I'm Pi Arcane. Who exactly are you trying to mess with? Just as I thought the conflict was settled, the beast suddenly detonated. Master, watch out! Several voices cried out simultaneously. Before I could react, Kieran, who was closest, shielded me with his body. He looked tense. Master, are you all right? I'm fine. When I stood up to check on them, the three disciples looked at me with strange, varied expressions. Were they scared? Rigid? The Shadow Dominion was in turmoil. I felt faint signs that I was about to break through the high arcane rank and enter the ascendant rank. If I remember correctly, the original Veronica died exactly during this period of great chaos in the Shadow Dominion. No wonder I was suddenly on the verge of ascension. The next plot point should be, I imprison, proceed with my heavenly tribulation, get half killed by the divine lightning storm, and Kieran seizes the opportunity to kill me, escape with aid to the Shadow Dominion, unite the dark forces, become the new Archon, and begin his unique path of dark ascension. Was I truly that close to dying? I walked forward, still trying to sort things out. Some parts still didn't make sense. Maybe if I just don't imprison the female lead. Thunk! My forehead hit something. I lifted my hand to touch my forehead. It didn't hurt. Julian had propped a hand between my head and the door frame. He looked at me, smiling helplessly. Master is peak-high arcane rank and still walked into walls. Ha ha ha. I let out a dry laugh. That was genuinely embarrassing. I quickly changed the subject. Go check on your senior brother and sister. They must be waiting impatiently. I don't know about them, but I heard them arguing outside the door. They really sounded agitated. Is junior sister using this to blackmail me? That's not what I mean. I just hope senior brother can still come back to the light. I don't say no more. Kieran interrupted loudly. No matter what. My affairs are none of junior sister's concern. The air was silent for a few moments. Then I heard Allah's indignant voice. Senior brother, if you harbor such intentions, aren't you afraid Master will find out? What intentions? I crouched low, trying to eavesdrop further. A large hand suddenly clamped over my ears. I glared at Julian beside me, mouthing, "What are you doing?" Julian leaned close to my ear, whispering with a soft laugh, "Master, listen not to impropriety." Julian pulled me away. Seeing his self-satisfied look, I tried to leave, but stopped 2 steps later and turned back. Come on, good disciple, tell your master what you just heard. Julian fell silent, his eyes darkening slightly, his expression growing as sullen as stagnant water. Fine, I won't ask. That should settle it. Damn it, I missed the crucial information. However, harbor such intentions? Could it be? Was Kieran already planning to kill me? While I was listing the 1,000 ways I could fake my death and escape, Julian found me again. Wait, what did you just say? Julian patiently repeated himself. Senior sister seems a little off recently, I asked reflexively. And your senior brother? Does Master care about senior brother that much? I have no choice but to care. Who knew if he was currently plotting my murder? The moment Julian heard my reply, he turned and left. Huh? He didn't even finish talking. What do you do when all your disciples are rebellious? It took me a moment to realize what was wrong with her. She had been infected by the dark aura, giving rise to a heart demon. The others clamored for her eradication, claiming she lacked spiritual fortitude and must be purged as an internal threat. Watching her kneel on the ground, slightly delirious from the dark aura's corruption, I felt a pang of guilt. This is my fault. If I had checked her wounds properly, this wouldn't have happened. Slowly, I gripped the hilt of my sword. Master Alistair, the sect leader, suddenly grasped my hand. If you cannot decide, detain her first, and we will discuss it further. Besides, she is your disciple, Veronica. I instantly understood Master Alistair's implied meaning. Naturally, I will handle my own disciple. We shall confine her, as senior brother suggested. After locking Alair away, I realized the original plot line had been fulfilled. The Ascension Tribulation arrived silently. I laid out the prepared artifacts one by one, setting up layers of protective barriers. The divine lightning storm of the Ascendant rank was far stronger than I had imagined. It took only 2 of the 18 bolts for all my barriers to shatter. High-grade artifacts splintered with every hit. Soon, all the artifacts were gone, and I was severely injured. Another bolt of lightning hurtled straight down towards me. I braced myself for the impact, only to be suddenly pulled into an embrace. Master, don't be afraid! Seeing Julian, who had appeared out of nowhere, I immediately pushed him away. Are you insane? Get away! Julian held me tighter, wrapping his arms around my waist, shielding me completely. Holding Master like this feels wonderful. A lightning bolt struck his back. Julian winced, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. What nonsense are you trying to get yourself killed? Move! Julian's eyes were stubbornly fixed on mine. The last time I saw your brother save you, I was fiercely jealous. Now, only I am here with you, Master. Seeing him growing increasingly frantic with no intention of leaving, I tried to soothe him. I understand. Just leave now, and we can talk about this another day. Okay. No! Julian continued to ramble, saying many things. Each sentence shocked me into silence. Yet, I couldn't ignore the sudden, frantic beat of my own heart. I didn't even have time to wonder when he had fallen for me before the final bolt of lightning descended. Julian's clothing felt heavy and sticky, a mix of dirt and blood. I frantically tried to conjure a healing spell, but I couldn't even lift my hand. Master! Julian's face was as white as paper, his voice strained. Look at me. With that, he collapsed unconscious. I struggled to touch his hand, to sense his spirit energy. Thankfully, he wasn't dead. I kneaded my fingers together, letting out a small, dry laugh. You certainly picked your timing. Is now really the time for a confession? We both looked terrible, beaten, and disgraced. When I woke up, only Kieran was guarding the bedside. Master, you're awake! Kieran cheerfully helped me sit up. My eyes unintentionally scanned something. I quickly looked down at my clothes. Why is the hem of my robe missing a section? Kieran paused. Disciple brother was clinging to Master's ham and wouldn't let go, so I cut it away with my sword. Oh, so that was it. How is your disciple brother now? He's still unconscious, but the elders say there is no fundamental damage. That's good. Having confirmed that, I'll lay back down. Kieran froze, looking at me skeptically. Master, aren't you going to visit him? If I visit him, will he recover faster? When you're that heavily injured, lying down is the only comfort. He should rest well. I should rest well, too. Having ascended one minor stage, I felt that my recovery rate was significantly faster in all aspects. Kieran visited me frequently. He claimed that since Allah was confined and Julian was unconscious, it was his duty to care for me. However, every time he saw me, he looked like he wanted to speak but hesitated. Finally, Kieran opened his mouth. If one day Master discovers I harbored treasonous intentions, would you forgive me? My heart leapt. Treasonous! He really was planning to kill me. No, I answered firmly. I will not forgive you. Kieran fell silent. After a long moment, he asked, Master, do you know where the key to the artifact holding Junior's sister is? I answered truthfully, It's here with me. Kieran drew a sharp blade and pressed it against my neck. Master, don't move. I turned my head to look at the man beside me, choosing not to speak. Master, I only wish to take Junior's sister and leave. The dark markings flickered on his brow. He too had developed a heart demon. It made sense. How else could he become the Archon without embracing the dark side? I gave a faint smile and said gently, I grant you this freedom. With that, I snatched the dagger from his hand and plunged it into my chest. As terror filled Kieran's eyes, I gradually dissolved. I regretted resting so much every day. I didn't even get to properly say goodbye to my youngest disciple before I left. What a pity. My forbidden romance with a young disciple ended before it could even begin. My name was Veronica Hayes. No, now it was Ronnie Deer. 127 years after transmigrating, I finally executed my fake death and escaped the main plot. My current life was too idle. It made me nostalgic for my previous existence. It was so boring. I should have found a place in the heart of a city, not hidden myself away in such a remote place. This year marks the 20th since my death. I returned to the cultivation world. I was a bit too aggressive with my fake death. 9/10 of my spirit energy dissipated, and the internal injuries still hadn't healed after all these years. If I didn't find a way to save myself soon, my fake death might become a real one. By my count, the verdant nexus was about to open. Shadow Bloom, a herb capable of curing all ailments, was hard to find elsewhere, but inside the nexus, it grew like weeds. I figured 100 stalks might be enough for my injuries. If not, Maybe 1,000 would do the trick. At the very least, it would alleviate my condition. I didn't expect the Verdant Nexus to draw such a crowd. Even the Shadow Dominion came to interfere. This nexus wasn't huge, only opening once every century, and wasn't known for major opportunities. Why so many people? As soon as I reached the entrance, I felt a sudden tempest of energy nearby. What's going on? Someone seems to be fighting over there. Gods are fighting. The small fries suffer. Get back. The commotion grew and the crowd scattered. I looked up to see two figures, one black and one white, locked in fierce combat. They looked so familiar. The entrance opened, and the two figures finally stopped. The white figure flew down, and the black figure slowly landed next to a woman. I ducked into the crowd. Holy hell. They scared me half to death. The two fighters, plus the woman waiting nearby, all three of them were my disciples. It seemed Kirin had indeed taken the Archon's throne. My escape hadn't derailed the plot. It had simply continued after my staged demise. All my careful planning and the elaborate death scene had paid off. Lost in thought, I accidentally bumped into a human wall. Excuse me. Excuse me, friend. Are you all right? Seeing Julian Sawyer in front of me, my words caught in my throat. I hadn't expected to run into him so suddenly. I subconsciously touched my face. Good. The disguise is still holding. But why was he here? He was just over there with the Silver Covenant group. I'm fine. Are you traveling alone, friend? Julian looked at me silently for a moment before speaking. I nodded. I'm a traveling freelance practitioner. I, too, am traveling alone. Perhaps I could join you. I was silent. He was wearing the formal robes of the Silver Covenant. Just moments ago, a cluster of sect disciples bowed to him, and he claimed to be traveling alone. Had he recognized me? No need. I'm used to traveling solo. I refused quickly. In that case, I apologize for bothering you. Julian turned to leave, his back radiating a strange sense of loneliness. I heard others referring to him as the Grand Master Sentinel. Perhaps it was lonely at the top. It had only been 20 years, and my disciples were all exponentially more powerful. The male and female leads were plot-assigned disciples, but Julian was the young one I picked up myself. Even if I raised this young one to be slightly twisted, I still had a keen eye for talent. I gave myself a discreet thumbs up. Entering the Nexus was smooth. Everyone was randomly teleported to various locations. But I didn't care where I landed. Shadow bloom grows everywhere. As I happily pulled weeds, some people walked past. Do freelance practitioners really have it that rough? Pulling weeds to sell? No kidding. Who harvests this kind of herb? Unless they're an alchemist, and in such bulk, no one buys it. Then what's she doing? Is she broke? I couldn't take it anymore. Do you two not know how to whisper when talking about others? The two men were startled, exchanged glances, and spoke in unison. You can see us. I'm not blind. I tucked the handful of shadow bloom into my bag. But we used an invisibility talisman, one of the men insisted. The Verdant Nexus deepens in layers. This layer just makes talismans fail. The deeper you go, the harder it gets. Eventually, even spirit energy might cease to function. I frowned at the pair. Do you two do any research? Before they could answer, I quickly got up and fled. I needed to escape them quickly. Getting too close to people like that means getting dragged into trouble. I had the shadow bloom I needed, so I prepared to look for the exit. But fortune is fickle. I got lost. After 2 days of being lost, I finally ran into a few people only to be promptly ambushed and captured. I can still recall the moment I saw those figures and ran towards them like they were saviors. They, in turn, saw me and ran toward me like I was a sacrificial lamb. It was truly a mutual rush. The group took me to a bridge. This spot was close to the center, and spirit energy was almost unusable. A collection of small factions had gathered by the bridge. I gathered that there was a major opportunity on the other side of the bridge, but no one knew what crossing it entailed. So, they decided to find some lone, unlucky soul to test it out first. Unluckily, I was that soul. They forcefully shoved me onto the bridge. The path back was blocked, so I had no choice but to walk forward. I hadn't gone far when someone grabbed my hand. "Don't be afraid." I looked at Julian beside me, and my heart inexplicably skipped a beat. Where did he come from? This is the Crucible Bridge. It won't endanger your life. I nodded. I've always lived with a clear conscience. With that, I stealthily shook off Julian's hand and strode forward. Since I wouldn't die here, I had nothing to fear. Julian momentarily paused when he saw my action, then slowly followed. Mist rose on the bridge, gradually obscuring everything. I had to rely on instinct to walk slowly. Finally, I saw a light and hurried toward it. I looked back. Where was Julian? Didn't he cross the Crucible Bridge? As the thick mist dispersed, the people on the far side, seeing that I was safe, were eager to try. But upon realizing Julian was missing, they hesitated. On the opposite side, Kieran arrived and started walking onto the bridge. What kind of treasure was here that attracted even a male lead? Not many people could pass the Crucible Bridge. I wandered for days and didn't see a single one of my disciples. They all went onto the bridge, but none made it across. And they call themselves the male and female leads and the Grand Master Sentinel. Not a single one of them has a clear conscience. In these few days, I found some spiritual fruits, but nothing else. Suddenly I heard sounds of fighting far away. I looked over. With no spirit energy, everyone was reduced to physical combat. What were they fighting over so fiercely? A small creature suddenly darted out and leaped straight towards me. I caught it instantly. It rubbed against my hand. It was fluffy and rather cute. "It's over there!" A man pointed a sword at me and charged. The others looked my way and followed closely. I hugged the fluffy thing and ran, but I tripped over a root in front of a large tree and was about to fall into the grass. Heaven wants me dead. I closed my eyes, preparing to accept my fate, but the anticipated pain never came. I was out. I had accidentally stumbled upon the exit. I patted the fluffy thing in my arms. My little lucky star. It wiggled happily in my arms. "I'll call you Lucky." I should have known. Carrying treasure inevitably attracts hungry wolves. Just like now, I was sprinting, holding Lucky. A blast of energy struck, slamming me against a tree. If I hadn't already depleted most of my spirit energy, I would have fought the attacker head-on. A figure slowly descended in front of me. Kieran spoke. "Hand it over and I won't kill you." What kind of disciple was this, brazenly robbing people in broad daylight? I looked down at the small creature clinging to me. "It's not that I don't want to give it to you. It doesn't want to go with you. Whether it wants to or not is irrelevant. I only need its inner core." "What? That would kill it?" I pretended to agree, hoping to escape when he wasn't ready. As soon as I stood up, my foot was entangled by a spell, and a force instantly flung me away. Just as I thought I was going to crash and die, I fell into a cold embrace. Julian caught me steadily. Truly, the Archon, he's learned the Shadow Dominion's depravity perfectly. "Give it to me!" Kieran stood tall. "My formation is missing that essential component." Julian ignored him. "Carry me away." "Disciple brother, don't you want Master to live?" "You have no right to ask me that. Put me down." I felt uncomfortable and struggled slightly, but I felt Julian's grip tighten and tremble. He said nothing, acting as if he hadn't heard me. "Julian Sawyer, put me down." Julian stopped abruptly, then gently placed me down. "Apologies." I was distracted. Distracted? What was he distracted by? I feigned magnanimity and waved him off. "It's fine. How did the lady know my name?" Julian's eyes shone with an incalculable light. I realized I'd been too hasty and blurted out his name. The Grand Master Sinel's name is widely known. Of course. Good thing I'm quick-witted. Understood. The situation was urgent just now. Please forgive my liberties. Julian nodded slightly. May I ask the lady's name? Ronnie Deer. That is a beautiful name, Miss Deer. Naturally, I have urgent matters, friend. Until we meet again. I hurried away, clutching Lucky in my arms. Maybe it was my imagination, but I felt Julian pause slightly when he heard my name. I shouldn't have been lazy and just reversed my original name. No, I shouldn't have told him my name at all. Due to my lack of spirit energy, I had to draw many short-range teleportation runes, moving in small segments. Finally, exhausted, I managed to transport myself to my doorstep. I cast a cleaning spell, removing the disguise along with the dirt, and placed Lucky on an empty spot beside me. Little Lucky, you'll have to squeeze in with me tonight. Tomorrow, I'll find you a proper little nest. Perhaps I was too tired. During the night, I felt extremely sweaty, but after sweating, I felt refreshed. When I woke up, most of my injuries were significantly better. Lucky, the fluffy creature, was curled up on my chest. It looked very tired. My injuries are much better. That must be your doing, right? I carefully picked it up, stroking its snow-white fur. Thank you for your hard work. I will protect you properly. I went out to find tools, intending to build a cozy little nest for Lucky, but looking at the mess of materials, I suddenly felt lost. Just as I was considering whether to just go buy one, a knock came at the door. I opened it and saw a stranger. Who are you? The man in a simple tunic bowed slightly. I am Ethan Miller. I just moved here and came to pay a courtesy call. A new neighbor? This area rarely had new residents, and it was even rarer for a neighbor to visit. I didn't want too much contact with people. I vaguely replied, I'm Ronnie Deer. Pleasure to meet you, Miss Deer. Are you having some difficulties? Ethan Miller glanced at the chaotic pile of materials behind me. I felt a little embarrassed, letting out 2 dry laughs. Ha ha, it's nothing major. I'm trying to build a small nest for my pet, but I'm a bit lost on where to start. I've studied a bit of carpentry and craft work. Perhaps I could try. Wouldn't that be too much trouble? No trouble at all. Ethan smiled softly and walked calmly into the yard. He picked up the tools and started working. I was slightly bewildered. This new neighbor was very enthusiastic. I stood beside him, pacing around, feeling like I was busy, but not knowing what I was doing. Finally, a voice interrupted my pacing. Miss Deer, please sit down. Take a break. Ha ha. I might have ADHD, difficulty concentrating. Exactly. That's it. You know about it. Did this era already have a definition for this condition? Ethan's eyes glazed over for a moment. I heard about it from an old acquaintance. Seeing his expression, I figured something was wrong. I carefully ventured a question. That acquaintance? Are they gone? Ethan shook his head, forcing a bitter smile. No, she seems to be doing very well. Huh? I guess I was wrong. Not separated by death, but unrequited love. As I was considering whether to press further, he spoke first. If someone you cared about told a massive lie, deceiving everyone, including you... Ethan stopped working, looking at me seriously. Miss Deer, do you think she might have had some hidden pain? Hearing the first half, I thought this guy had been duped by a terrible woman. Hearing the second half, I realized, wow, what a hopeless romantic. He was deceived, and he was still looking for excuses for her. He moved to this remote area, probably heartbroken and swindled out of all his possessions. He seemed like a genuinely nice guy, even helping me build Lie's nest. What reason could I give him that wouldn't crush him or cause further pain? I think, and this is just my own opinion, not representative of that girl. I hesitated for a long time, then steeled my resolve. I think she's just a liar. Ethan's expression darkened slightly. A liar? I swallowed. Crap. He sounds angry. I just insulted his beloved muse. You probably wouldn't help me finish the nest now. Well, actually, not really. Didn't you say she lied to everyone? Maybe she did have an unavoidable reason. Forced to use a white lie. I nodded, emphasizing my point. Yes, a white lie. Ethan's knuckles, resting on the tool, turned white as he clenched his hands as if suppressing something. After a long silence, he relaxed. I trust her. We have a long future ahead. Ethan stood up, organized the messy tools, and picked up a portion of the materials. I'll take these back and continue working on them. I'll bring them to you another day, Miss Deer. No rush. No rush. I quickly waved him off and saw him out. There was no cure for being a hopeless romantic. After everything, he still believed they had a future. A couple of days later, Ethan brought Lai's finished nest. I was surprised at how exquisite the woven bamboo nest was. I brought Lucky over, and the creature loved it, rolling around inside. My injuries were recovering well thanks to sleeping with Lucky. It shouldn't take long to heal completely, and my spirit energy should slowly return. I went looking for Shadow Bloom, but found a spiritual healing beast instead. My luck truly was excellent. I looked at Ethan in the courtyard. I happily thanked him and asked if he would stay for dinner. He gently refused. Ethan said his assistant was visiting family and he was home alone. He wanted to try living by himself. Are you sure you can manage alone? I was skeptical. Ethan seemed in high spirits, nodding slightly. Don't worry. Then he left. I wouldn't have thought much of it if I hadn't seen plumes of thick smoke rising not far away. When I arrived, Ethan stood outside his courtyard looking disheveled. For some reason, looking at his isolated figure felt strangely familiar. Seeing me, he looked embarrassed. I hope I didn't alarm you. I sighed in relief. I'm glad you're all right. As for the property, material possessions are fleeting. Ethan suddenly coughed, a violent, sustained choke that lasted a long time. Cough, cough, I'm fine. I patted his back to help him catch his breath. You must have inhaled smoke. The fire is almost out. Let's go to my place to rest. I helped Ethan back to my small courtyard and settled him down. Seeing how uncomfortable he was, I tucked Lucky into his arms. Hold this for a bit. Lucky was highly effective at healing minor, mundane injuries. Sure enough, Ethan's coughing eased considerably within minutes. Seeing him feel better, I finally asked, Did you try cooking for yourself? Ethan nodded silently. Okay, I understood exactly what happened. Wait here, I'll make some congee. To my surprise, Ethan followed me. I'll help. You won't burn down my place, too. I'll rinse the rice. He walked straight into the kitchen. Seeing his earnest face, I suddenly found it rather funny. It was just a joke, and he took it seriously. I couldn't help but remark, You're so skilled at weaving bamboo, but you can't cook. Ethan froze for a moment, then slowly said, Weaving is a hobby. I learned a while ago. I see. After dinner, Ethan remained stiffly seated. I knew he had nowhere else to go. Perhaps he was afraid I would ask him to leave. You can stay here for now. There's a room next to mine, though it's a bit small. I decided to take him in for a few days. I'm truly indebted to you. Ethan bowed respectfully. Thank you, Miss Deer. Just call me Ronnie. You helped me too. So, consider this my repayment. I looked at Lucky in his arms. Lucky really likes you. It keeps burrowing into your lap. Seems like you two share an affinity. Yes, affinity. Ethan looked down at the white fluff in his hands. Lucky. The next morning, I found Ethan sweeping the fallen leaves in the courtyard. Why are you up so early? Ethan placed the broom aside and went to pick up Lucky to bask in the sun. What a model spouse. Good-looking, good-natured, diligent, and a total hopeless romantic. I watched Ethan's busy figure inside dig up some wild vegetables. At least you won't starve. You want wild vegetables? He heard that even though I whispered, no, hot. I tried to cover up. To my surprise, when I looked up again, Ethan already had a basket strapped to his back, ready to leave. You're really going to dig up wild vegetables? Ethan nodded. I'll be back soon. He walked away immediately. I was speechless. That level of initiative was intense. Diagnosis confirmed. He definitely did not have a procrastination problem. I waited in the courtyard with Lucky for half the day. I didn't see Ethan return, but I did see dark clouds gathering overhead. Rain was imminent, and Ethan was still missing. I started to worry. Could a mere mortal run into danger? I grabbed an umbrella and went out looking for him. I searched a mountain for a long time. The rain started to fall and still no sign of Ethan. Even the spiritual butterflies I conjured couldn't find a trace. He couldn't have been eaten by a monster, right? The rain grew heavier. Finally, I heard a faint cry. Ethan was soaked, covered in mud. Why are you so badly hurt? I rushed closer and saw the beast trap clamp. Blood was profusely leaking from Ethan's calf. I didn't hesitate and immediately cast a spell to free him. I'm fine, Ronnie. Don't worry. Ethan's voice was weak. I brought him back and cast a cleaning spell on him. You rest. I'll go get some medicine. As I turned to leave, my hand was suddenly grabbed. Don't go. I looked back at the man on the bed. He seemed a little delirious, perhaps not fully conscious. He also looked a bit aggrieved. I'm just getting medicine. I'll be right back. Don't leave me. Ethan's grip tightened. Looking closely, I saw his hand covered in scrapes, too. Afraid of hurting his hand, I resigned myself to sitting on the edge of the bed. Fine. I suppose it's my fault you're like this because of my careless words. Guilt swirling, I tended to him carefully, constantly using my spirit energy to numb the pain. Because my energy had been so low, I hadn't practiced healing spells in a long time and was a bit rusty. After several attempts, I finally succeeded. Once Ethan's injuries were somewhat stabilized and his complexion improved, I felt relieved. But who knew the man had such strength? I couldn't pull my hand away. Afraid of hurting him further, I let it be. Due to my lack of spirit energy, I grew dizzy and eventually drifted off to sleep. But someone please tell me why Ethan Miller and I were lying in the same bed. I hadn't done anything depraved while I was dizzy, had I? I quickly checked my clothes. Whew, everything is intact. I prepared to sneak out of bed, but Ethan suddenly woke up right then. The silence was deafening. I committed such a depraved act. Ethan was shocked, but instantly made a decision. Ronnie, don't worry. I will take responsibility for you. I quickly waved my hands. No, nothing happened. I ruined your reputation. Ronnie, don't be afraid. I will be responsible for you. No. After a long back and forth, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I'm a cultivator. Practitioners don't fuss over small matters. The moment I said that, Ethan immediately adopted a pitiful, wounded expression. Ronnie, by saying that, are you refusing my responsibility and rejecting me? In the following days, Ethan obsessed over this constantly. He insisted on taking responsibility for me. His demeanor made me feel like I was the scoundrel who had cheated and abandoned him. I'm a cultivator, I emphasized again. I know Ethan spoke early. My lifespan is very long. You can't accompany me for long. It doesn't matter. Ronnie can find another suitable partner, but only after I die. Why was he so obstinate? His attitude reminded me of the young disciple who held me and spoke nonsense during the lightning tribulation. Why was I thinking of them so often lately? What about your former love interest? Have you moved on? I asked. Ethan was slightly stunned. Seeing hope, I pressed on. You still like her? It's impossible for me to be with you. Ethan seemed to snap back to the present, pursed his lips, but couldn't suppress the rising curve of his mouth. Only like Ronnie now. Damn it, the hopeless romantic focus has shifted. But I don't like you, I retorted. Ethan's smile dropped and he asked flatly, Then who do you like? Who did I like? The white-robed figure flashed across my mind. I didn't even get to say a proper farewell when I left. That last encounter was probably truly the final one. There would be no future. I once liked a man, but we can never meet again in this lifetime. Ethan looked displeased. Why? Because he hurt you. I didn't know why he sounded so certain. Perhaps he had been hurt by his beloved, so he assumed the same for me. No, because fate cannot be defied. I thought about it. Maybe it was just an irresistible force. A flicker of unknown emotion crossed Ethan's eyes. After a long silence, I finally said, So, we can't be together? The starlight in Ethan's eyes seemed to shatter. Sigh. I didn't want to hurt him. Ethan's throat bobbed and his voice was low. What if I insist on defying fate? Ugh. Why is this guy so stubborn? The heavenly Tao dictates the destiny of all living things. If you insist on defying it, the heavenly Tao will find ways to push destiny back onto its fixed path. Just like something struck me and I suddenly paused in a fixed timeline. I should have already died, but I was still alive. Then fate to my current self was like floating clouds. Does that mean I could go back? Just like what? Ethan pressed. Just like me. I'm going to defy fate right now and return to where I came from, I declared passionately. If I fail, then you shouldn't try. I decided to leave immediately and started packing. Ethan suddenly grabbed me. You're going back to find him? Yes. Does he love you? He should, right? After all, he confessed his love and blocked a lightning tribulation for me. That counts as a confession, doesn't it? Should, huh? Ethan's eyes were ice cold. If the person you love falls for someone else, what will you do? No way. But it wasn't impossible. Back away, I suggested softly. Why should you? You should kill them and take the person back. I stood there stunned, but Ethan had already left. He wasn't seriously going to steal someone, was he? His leg injury wasn't even fully healed. Could he even beat anyone? Unexpectedly, my journey back failed before it even began. I was intercepted on the way back to the Order. The people who stopped me were none other than my two beloved disciples, Kieran Thorne and Vance. They stared at my face in shock. Master! And she shook her head. No, Master passed away long ago. She shifted her gaze to Lucky in my arms. Hand it over. I looked over her shoulder. Grandmaster Sentinel, help. The moment she turned, I quickly fled. The female lead was still so naive and easy to trick. Just as I was secretly chuckling, the person who blocked my path next showed me the definition of joy turning to sorrow. Where could Kieran Thor be? The moment Kieran clearly saw my face, his expression turned murderous. You have a death wish. I hastily dodged. Seeing Kieran preparing to unleash a powerful spell, I yelled, I'm Veronica Hayes! To my horror, Kieran's expression grew even more twisted. Anyone impersonating Master must die. In the instant I lost consciousness, I thought, is fate truly inescapable? Is dying by the male lead's hand my destiny? I woke up again, only this time I was bound and thrown into a formation. Seeing me awaken, Ela stepped forward. Blame yourself for daring to resemble Master. I tried to explain, but I couldn't speak. My mouth was sealed. You aren't the one who resembles her most, but you are the luckiest one because you will become the vessel for Master's resurrection. I wasn't the one who resembled her most. That was an outrageous insult. Who resembled me more than me? Wait, did she just say vessel? Kieran constantly channeled the formation. The moment it activated, I retreated. I felt my strength rapidly draining away. Eventually, I couldn't support myself and collapsed, but I still managed to lift my hand and flash my middle finger. The surrounding light intensified. A beam of light suddenly pierced the spiritual energy around me and surged into my body. Instantly, the formation collapsed and the artifacts scattered on the ground. Kieran looked at me in shock. "Hey, that's not my fault." I quickly defended myself. "Wait, I can speak." The words had barely left my mouth when Kieran and Ela both knelt before me. "Master, how did you recognize me again?" I was confused. Ara's eyes were tearful as she looked at the scattered artifacts. The formation was correct, and all the artifacts were present except for the one storing Master's spirit energy. Spirit energy recognizes its owner. There could be no mistake. I nodded. No wonder my internal injuries were healed, and my spirit energy had recovered significantly. Then I suddenly thought, where is my Lucky? What Lucky? Kieran looked puzzled. The spiritual pet I was holding. You didn't do anything to it, did you? Kieran realized. Master, don't worry. After taking its inner core, we placed it in a spiritual bracelet to nurture it. I will return the core immediately, and it will be fine after resting in the bracelet for a few days. Kieran handed me the bracelet. I quickly checked it. Thankfully, it was okay. Poor little Lucky was going through hardship because of me. I need to return to the Silver Covenant, I explained to them. Now that my spirit energy was mostly restored, fighting a high arcane rank cultivator was no problem. I grinned at the two of them. What rank are you now? Transcendent rank, high arcane rank. Truly, the master was inferior to the disciples. Suddenly, she knelt down. Master, your disciple is guilty. Why are you kneeling? Get up and speak. She refused to rise. When I developed the heart demon, Master, confine me to save me. She continued to confess, tears streaming down her face, but I was ungrateful. I secretly sent word to senior brother, blackmailing him to rescue me. That caused such a great calamity, causing Master to... It wasn't because of you. I interrupted her. She bit her lip tightly. Master, you don't have to cover for me. I felt helpless. I raised my hand to lift her and gently wiped her tears away. It was only now that I realized it didn't matter where the main plot was headed. The part of the story I was in had already changed long ago. I'm not covering for anyone. I intended to fake my death and escape anyway. I will explain everything later, but you blackmailed your senior brother. How? I was puzzled. Their relationship should have been very close. Why did she need to blackmail him into helping her escape? It's nothing. Kieran looked slightly awkward. Master should rest for a while before returning to the order. He silently winked at me. Kieran saw I didn't answer and urged me, Master, all right. Surely no one here would try to harm me now. Later that evening, half asleep, I suddenly saw Kieran sitting by my bed. What are you doing? You scared me. The person disciple brother took away that day was Master in disguise. Wasn't it? I was sleepy and mumbled listlessly. Yes. Kieran chuckled softly. No wonder. I should have realized sooner. Realized what? Why was he waking me up in the middle of the night? To realize things. Nothing. Good night, Master. Since Kieran said that, I ignored him and laid back down to sleep. I felt an itching sensation on my face, like someone stroking it. Annoyed, I swatted the hand away. So annoying, I muttered, rolling over. I can't sleep well in this shadow dominion. I really needed to return to the order soon. The next day, Kieran tried to stop me from leaving. The third day, the fourth day, after staying for what felt like too many days, I was suddenly shaken awake in the middle of the night. Why do all of you like waking people up in the middle of the night? I ignored my question, her face anxious. Senior brother isn't here right now. Master, please leave quickly. Why should I leave quickly? Just because senior brother isn't here? I was confused. Is someone trying to harm us? No. Then why? We both had high arcane rank cultivation now. We didn't need to fear ordinary people. Senior brother is preparing for the wedding. I was stunned. You two are getting married? Then I definitely couldn't leave. I had to stay for the wedding. Wait, would I be seated in the position of the elder? After all, once a master, always a father figure. Senior brother intends to marry you. Master, what did you say? I thought I misheard. Master, you heard correctly. Please leave quickly. Aura pulled me, rushing towards the exit of a shadow dominion. My head was spinning the entire time. Kirin wanted to marry me. How did this happen? When did this disciple also go off the rails? We reached the exit only to run into Kirin. More accurately, we ran into Kirin fighting Julian Sawyer. Both were wounded and showed no sign of stopping. "Stop fighting!" I shouted. Neither of them paid me any mind. Fine, fine. You're strong now. Your wings are stiff, and your master's words hold no weight. They were transcendent rank, and I was just a small, high arcane rank cultivator. I pulled my hand, walking away. Let's go. I hesitated. Master, based on the magical vortex of their fight, they couldn't possibly hear your voice. Oh, is that so? Huh? Well, they were certainly engrossed in their fight. I tried sending a wave of spirit energy toward them. The two finally noticed me and instantly appeared by my side. You actually came looking for him? Julian fiercely grabbed my sleeve. I patted his hand, gesturing for him to let go. No respect for elders. Master, where are you going? Kirin also grabbed my arm. These two. I needed to separate them before they started fighting again. I'll speak with Kirin first. He is the senior brother mainly. His problem is the bigger one. I object. Julian protested immediately. Objection overruled. Kirin and I left for another room. Explain yourself. What is this wedding about? I want to marry Master. Kirin answered frankly. But you never asked me. Then, Master. I refused. I rejected him instantly. I knew my heart clearly and absolutely could not give him any shred of hope. Why? Kirin countered. Is it because I'm unsuitable or because I'm not him? You are unsuitable. What about disciple brother? I remained silent, which was answer enough. Kirin was silent for a moment, then laughed slightly maniacally. Why can he, but I cannot? We are both disciples, both violate ethics, both condemned by the great Tao. Why can he? You already know the answer, don't you? I spoke mildly. I've never been constrained by those things. I explained the plotline to Kirin, framing it as the will of the heavenly Tao. He could still ascend despite becoming Archon. I also framed my self-slaying as following the direction of the heavenly Tao. After an unknown duration, Kirin's voice finally returned thick and hoarse. Did Master avoid me because of the heavenly Tao? You could say that. With nothing left to say, I left to find Julian, repeating what I had just told Kirin. What about me? Julian, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly asked, Was I not even in Master's vision of the heavenly Tao? Julian's question caught me off guard. The original plot really didn't involve him. No. I shook my head. Julian smiled bitterly. I also want to speak with Master alone. After Lara left the room, Julian slowly stood before me. He was a head taller than me, making me feel immense pressure. Was his aura really that strong? Master always focused so much on senior brother and sister. It feels very unfair to me. Wait, is this what you want to discuss? Shouldn't he be expressing his yearning, or had he truly moved on to someone else? Julian leaned down toward me. Master Alistair wants me to take over the Silver Covenant. What do you think? Why was he asking me this now? I rarely concern myself with the Order's internal affairs, and he usually made his own decisions. I thought about it. You are the foremost master of the sword arts now. Our Order is famous for its sentinels. It would be convincing for you to take over. The moment I finished speaking, Julian's expression instantly turned sullen. What if Senior Brother took over? He's probably unsuitable. After all, he was the Archon now. The sect leader cannot marry. If he's unsuitable, am I suitable? The sect leader cannot marry. No wonder Master Alistair, despite his age, had no wife. I thought he just couldn't find one. Turns out he was forbidden. Poor Master Alistair, especially since the other elders always flaunted their relationships in front of him. Does Master love him that much? Julian demanded. I reflexively denied it. How is that possible? When did I ever say I loved him? Who spread that rumor? Then who does Master love? Julian gripped my wrist, staring intently at me. I involuntarily looked away. Before I could finish, I noticed the faint, fine scars on Julian's hand. Those scars were so familiar. They instantly transported me back to the night I spent my spirit energy healing his wounds. Ethan Miller, Julian Sawyer. I changed my direction immediately and smiled. I've fallen for a mortal man. I met him after I left the Order. He's been extremely kind to me. Julian froze for a moment. He probably couldn't believe I would be involved with a mere mortal. Mortals only live 100 years. He cannot accompany me for long. It's fine. When he dies, I'll just find another partner. Julian fell silent, seeing him reach for his sword, ready to leave. I quickly stopped him. Where are you going? To kill someone. This time I understood. He wanted to kill the man I claimed to love. Can you find him? Julian looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Master won't stop me. No, I won't stop you. I waved him off. The man's name is Ethan Miller. Make sure you don't kill the wrong person. Slash him a few extra times to vent your frustration. I don't care. I was giving Julian the cold shoulder on purpose. The nerve of him recognizing me all along and pretending so well. He made me look like an idiot. On the journey back to the Order with Julian, no matter what he said, I pretended not to hear.